On this episode of Star Trek Universe, man, a Starfleet Academy series has been announced. Plus, we've got a bunch of Matalas stuff talking about Picard and Sisko and Janeway. And, of course, we talk about your feedback. All right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen on two lifelong friends do what they've been doing since they were little bitty. Talk about Star Trek. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Robertson.
Dave, how are you, buddy?
I'm here, man. I'm just amped up for new Star Trek, and I don't know. I'm just excited and excitable.
I haven't really looked into the news. I know one of the big pieces of news is the new Starfleet Academy show.
Mm-hmm.
It's been announced, but you were telling me there's a lot of good news. So let's talk.
Well, there's a lot of interesting news. Good news to talk about, not necessarily like, yay! But the Starfleet Academy series, apparently Alex Kurtzman is going to be a showrunner alongside Noga Landau, creator of CW's Nancy Drew and Sci-Fi's The Magicians. And they made the following joint announcement. Admission is now open to Starfleet Academy. Explore the galaxy. Captain your destiny. For the first time in over a century, our campus will be reopened to admit individuals a minimum of 16 Earth years or species equivalent who dream of exceeding their physical, mental, and spiritual limits, who value friendship, camaraderie, honor, and devotion to a cause greater than themselves. The coursework will be rigorous. The instructors among the brightest lights in their respective fields, and those accepted will live and study side by side with the most diverse population of students ever admitted. Today, we encourage all who share our dreams, goals, and values to join a new generation of visionary cadets as they take their first steps toward creating a bright future for us all. Apply today. So, I think the big news in that is for the first time in over a century, because that sounds like where else could they be doing this but in 32nd century?
Exactly, yeah. So that's definitely the big headline, is that it sounds like they are going to continue the 32nd century plot line.
Mm-hmm.
So that sounds cool. I'm definitely down for it. I've expressed my negative opinions about the 32nd century, but I like these characters and I don't want to leave them behind. I just think it muddies up the works when you're telling two different timelines at once.
Yeah,
but I'm down. I'm here. I'm gonna watch it.
We'll have 3 different timelines.
That's true. It's true.
Oh, and Tawny Newsome announced that she's going to be a part of the writer's room on Starfleet Academy. She plays Mariner.
Oh, neat.
On
really
Lower Decks. Yeah.
Nancy Drew and the Magicians. I never watched those shows, but I've kind of seen them on. I've seen clips and things, and they seem kind of juvenile, I guess, which makes sense with the fact this is like the Academy. But I guess I hope this isn't too much melodrama, and it's good. I just hope it's good for all ages and not just for teenagers. It could be a slog if it's too teeny bopper.
My hope is that it won't feel like something from the CW.
Yeah,
obviously.
Exactly.
And one of the big reasons I always thought CW shows were shit is because they're always stretched out to 22 to 23 episodes, and they just have way too much filler.
True.
But then a lot of the DC CW shows started getting cut down to like 13 episodes a season, and they were still shit. So I was like, oh. Well, I'm worried now.
Yeah, sometimes it's just the effort you put in,
But yeah, man, I'm down for this. I'm down to see where they take it.
Yeah, for sure. What else we got?
So we've got Terry Matalas talking to the Inglorious Trexperts at GalaxyCon panel. How he's talking about season 3 of Picard will end and how it sets up what he hopes will be a new spin-off series. He says Star Trek 6 really does have a feeling of finality to it. You do feel like that at any moment these characters might die, so the stakes are quite high. And again, it does a lot right for James T. Kirk. At the end of Picard Season 3, it's narratively right in that it closes a lot of narrative loops. He does see Star Trek 6 as a model for Season 3. And they asked him if it would end with the cast signatures like Undiscovered Country did. And he says, no, because of Avengers Endgame. Kevin Feige is one of the biggest Star Trek fans out there, and he did it brilliantly in Avengers Endgame, and I felt like I can't do it. But I think we do something quite nice, I will say. I think you will feel good. Because in Endgame, that was something that I thought of. I was like, it's like Star Trek 6!
Well, and in the other thing about Endgame is when they were talking about making it, the writers talked about how it was inspired partially by All Good Things. Mm-hmm. And so we talked about it a ton when we were, a major time travel episode. And then in the thing, they're going back and forth with these different timelines and stuff. And or different parts of the timeline, kind of touching on different eras and stuff. And it's just so clever, but it's very much straight out of the Star Trek playbook. And I think it's really great. Yep.
So I'm excited to see what they do. And he does talk about how Star Trek Legacy here at GalaxyCon. He says, I love this period in Star Trek, the 25th century. I always view it as the present day in Star Trek for me. It's where we all left off. And the way we leave this season is a passing of the torch from the last generation to the next. I would certainly love the spinoff to happen. We certainly leave it so you can do that.
Awesome.
He did offer a little bit of specifics on the kinds of story characters and storylines that could be a part of it. He says, boy, wouldn't you want to check in with the Klingon Empire? Wouldn't you want to check in with Deep Space Nine and the Doctor from Voyager and everything that went on with the Berman-verse? So that's kind of where I see is to explore the galaxy and sort of get back to the next-gen roots of storytelling is what I would see as a kind of a version of Star Trek I'd like to see with this group of characters that we're seeing. I don't want to talk too much about them, although I think you could guess as to who I would like to see. And by the way, I think that includes a great deal of some of these legacy characters who I think have never been better, Jonathan Frakes being one of them. I mean, come on, guys, he's amazing. And also, by the way, on Twitter, someone mentioned Alexander, Worf's son, and he was like, he would be on Star Trek Legacy, by the way.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So the moderator, Mark Altman, had mentioned DS9 and Nana Visitor, who said she was loving the new season. And Matalas said, she's so good. I mean, gosh, you want to see that. You want to see Nana so bad and what's going on with her and everyone. That would be phenomenal. He says it's not up to him whether they get to make it. He says, I have no idea what you can do. I think be loud, I guess. I don't work for Star Trek right now. We are not developing anything. I know that Star Trek came back to life because of the fans. They get to decide. So however you best make noise is however you do it. And he did agree that the letter writing campaigns don't work now.
Social media is where it's at these days, obviously.
Yeah, he's put out the Star Trek Legacy hashtag and told everyone to use it and to, basically beg Paramount for this thing. And and there's also a petition. And I'll put the link in the show notes. But it's already passed 15,000 votes.
Cool.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think it's a great idea. I honestly, the idea of Worf's son being on the ship or like part of the crew makes me nervous. I know it's called Star Trek Legacy.
He didn't say he was going to be part of the crew,
sure,
part of the ship. He just said he was going to be on it.
Right. Sure. Even so, him even being on the show, I don't know. Like. It kind of feels like if they do it too much, you know what I mean? Like we've already got a Picard and a LaForge that they could easily put on the show.
Two LaForges and a Picard.
Sure. It just seemed like they've still
got Law's memory engrams floating around.
Yeah,
which true. Is very telling that they have that.
Yeah, you're right. I don't want it to be. I love Star Trek Next Generation. But I don't need it again, and I don't need Next Generation babies. Like, I don't need it to just be everyone to have their analog. You know what I mean? Like, I love Voyager. I love the love the characters in Voyager, and I like the mix of characters and how they're different from the mix of characters on the other shows. And I like DS9 for how different it is from Next Generation. And I don't want them to just like, all right, we got us a Picard, we got us a LaForge, we got us a Worf's son. I don't know. Like at some point, it makes me nervous that they're gonna go too far with it. Yeah,
I think there's a fine line, and I'm not sure. Part of me thinks they already crossed it.
Well, like where it is now with like LaForge and Picard and Crusher feels really natural. They've done a really good job building those two characters up. And I know there's two LaForges, but it seems like the other daughter, the non-Sydney daughter, is more like someone who's going to stay on. Aladria?
Alandria, I think.
Alandria, okay. It seems like she's going to probably stay on the station with her dad, or is working with her dad as an engineer. Although they could be the engineer and the pilot on the ship. Who knows?
Yeah,
if it's even a ship.
The other daughter that's with him is his actual real life daughter, and he was just on The View with her, and he said if they do Star Trek Legacy, they're down for it.
Yeah. I don't know. I love the idea of like continuing these characters in some form. I just don't want them to be too cookie cutter about it and be like, well, let's continue this legacy in a very literal way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just wish it was like, yeah, sure, these characters. I don't even know if they need it. I love Star Trek, and I've always thought it'd be cool. DS9 is my favorite, partially because it breaks the format. It's not the crew on a ship. It's the crew on a space station. And it creates all these different kinds of interactions with having the same antagonists come back over and over because you're not flying through space. You're staying in one place.
Yeah.
And so I think there's space in Star Trek for something different like that. Like where instead of being a crew on a ship, you could have these different characters and the way they're interacting with Starfleet, the way they're fighting this changeling threat in different places. I've always loved that about the book series. Is a lot of times you'll have like 3 or 4 different storylines going on, and they're just in different corners of the Federation. I watch a lot of The Expanse. Love that show, and it does that where like, yeah, there's a crew, but there's also like this political stuff going on at Earth, and there's this other stuff, and sort of jumps around the solar system and tells all these different parts of the story, and then at some point it all kind of collides together in these beautiful ways. And I've always loved that about the book series of Star Trek. I even think the movies do that a little more, but like it seems like on the tradition on Star Trek is for the show to be on a ship all the time, and you're flying on a ship and you're doing a thing, mission. And I just think there's room for different kinds of things like that.
Yeah, I agree.
What else you got? long dead air. That's what we got.
Hey, yes, sir. Terry Matalas talked a little bit about Kirk's body. There's been a lot of conjecture on the internet because there's apparently on that panel, it says something about Project Phoenix on there. And there's been a lot of hubbub about whether or not Kirk is actually dead. And,
well, my mind immediately goes to when a phoenix rises, it rises like back at full strength,
Uh-huh.
Like it's not, it's not the elderly phoenix dying. It's like a rebirth.
Right.
So if I was saying as a phoenix, like could be like a clone or some version of Kirk, like being born into the, 25th century.
Uh-huh.
Right. That's where my mind goes for Phoenix.
I mean, he wouldn't be allowed in Starfleet because you can't get more genetically modified than literally effing cloned.
Well, I mean,
unless you're Picard and you're just a robot now.
Well, that's not the thing. Like, clones aren't genetically modified; they're genetic copies.
Yeah,
that's different.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway.
And if there's all that lore in like the
data.
No, there's all that lore in the books about in those books we keep referencing because every time Kirk is brought up, we bring him up.
Yeah,
about like preserver DNA and all that stuff. Like, what if they needed
the return books? Yeah,
yeah. What if they needed Kirk back for something like that? Like he's. They need Kirk back like they needed the whales back.
Uh-huh. It's like the aliens show up and they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like they're calling Kirk, aren't they?
Some big Kirk-shaped probe comes up. It just sounds like, "Rawr, wah, 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 wah." It's like the whales, but with pauses. This is what I'm trying to do.
Spock. Yeah. Okay. Part of that Inglorious Trexperts cast, they covered each of the individual films from the Star Trek franchise. And they were talking about Star Trek Generations and the death of Kirk. And Matalas said, look, it's not how I would have sent Kirk off, clearly, because I just put his body in Daystrom. And he says, Kirk is dead. We figured, is his body really just under a pile of rocks on a planet? We're not committed. We're not saying he's resurrected. It is a tip of the hat to The Return, which is a wonderful book I recommend to all of you.
Oh my gosh.
He says,
that's
maybe.
Amazing. That's amazing.
We just leave it open that someday some brilliant writer could do something. That could be an animated thing. That could be anything.
Please make The Return canon. Please just make The Return. That's what I need. I need them to just make The Return. Have them regenerate Kirk's body into like a younger form, new actor, Chris Pine, whatever. Bring him on as a Borg and have them do The Return.
Oh, God.
And Jack Crusher can fill the Picard role.
Yeah, he says that could be anything. It's just to keep, as my friend Spock is fond of saying, there are always possibilities. That was the idea behind it. So I thought you'd enjoy that.
That's amazing.
And you organically brought up the book series, right as I was going into that.
Of course,
awesome.
Leaving Kirk's body available, it's like the return is right there, man.
Yeah. So a fan on Twitter said, I'm about at the point where if Sisko doesn't reemerge from the wormhole in the finale to the trumpeting theme of DS9 to take on the changelings once more, there may be riots. And Terry Matalas responded, get your riot gear, buddy.
Yeah, that's not happening. It's just from like a storytelling perspective, I love the idea of bringing Sisko back. That could be like the thing at the end, the post-credits thing, or like thing that brings the back into the action or something. But like, I don't see that being like the way you don't resolve a story that way. You have to have the characters make decisions that resolve the story. Yeah,
Ben Sisko is my favorite Starfleet captain, and indeed one of my favorite top 5 Star Trek characters. But if it doesn't fit organically into the story, if Avery Brooks doesn't want to come back, if there are any of these issues, I'm okay. You don't have to put it back. I'm not going to be mad at the showrunner and start talking about riots and shit.
Yeah. Like, do you think they'll ever recast Sisko?
I don't know that DS9 is popular enough to even warrant it.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I was thinking. Although, just like we're talking about this stuff where you could easily bring back Kirk in all kinds of ways with a Project Phoenix, you could bring his body back in any form. Him coming back from the wormhole, you could bring, they've created all kinds of whatever effects on the world. You could totally see a thing where like Sisko came back different. I don't know if I want that, but if they had a good story idea for like why the prophets are finally sending him back and Avery doesn't want to do it anymore, I feel like there's a way to make that happen. A way to make a new actor make sense when he's been floating around with the prophets for 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, there's a way you could just say it. You can just say like, I've rejuvenated my body. Ha!
Why did I tried to make that laugh? It's Sisko, a wonderful Sisko laugh, and instead I came out sounding like one of the aliens from Galaxy Quest.
Yeah. I was thinking like Sisko on the beach in the first episode, in The Emissary, where he sees Jennifer and he's like, ho ho! That's like what I always think of when I think of him. But it's like the worst laugh ever. Like it gives me like cringe goosebumps. I'm like, oh, why?
I love it. I love it so much.
Someone on Twitter, PDP Does Trek, says, by the way, since Terry Matalas announced the title of the last episode of Star Trek Picard as The Last Generation, I think people have been scared. My take is that last likely means most recent, rather than final or ultimate in this case. And Terry Matalas says, nope, it means final.
Remain scared.
Remain petrified. And in much the same way, someone was complaining that Janeway has to show up. And Terry Matalas says, before anyone gets their hopes up, Janeway is exclusively on Star Trek Prodigy, but there are other Voyagers out there in the Alpha Quadrant. So, Janeway hopes dashed.
Yeah.
Dry your eyes, mate.
Well, the good thing about that is we're not going to get any weird time things where every time the Janeway in Prodigy is in trouble, we know she survives because she showed up here. Of course, I guess we know she survived because they've been talking about her and how she's still working and stuff. But I don't know how Prodigy stacks up timeline-wise to here. I don't know how much earlier it is or if it's earlier than this, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay.
I legitimately just don't. If I did know, I don't remember. I'm really bad about this. If I was 13 again, I would have all of this mapped out on like a chart in front of my computer.
Yeah, you definitely have the poster with all the timelines and apparently it's 2021 in Prodigy. Oh, sorry, that's when it came out.
Okay, so Prodigy is the year 2383.
2383. 2383, what? So it's 24th century still.
I guess so, yeah. It's 5 years after the end of Voyager.
Oh, so it's like 25 years before this.
I guess so.
Wow. Or no, maybe just 10, 15 years. I don't know. I don't know exactly, but it's definitely before this.
Yeah, I don't know when Picard is. I just don't know, Matt.
The first distant year, 2399.
2399, yeah, is...
Okay, so 2399, so it's just now the 25th century. They kept talking about 25th century, and I guess it just became the 25th century after the first season. Okay. What was the other one? What did you just say Prodigy was?
Hell, I don't know, man. I just told you.
I know what I was trying to compare. I don't remember.
2383.
Okay, so it's like 17 years-ish, 17, 18 years before this. Okay, that's some distance.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
So many different places in time that Star Trek is happening now. Because we were talking earlier about 3 different time periods, but like really, I mean, and Lower Decks is another one that I don't know where it fits, but it's like he's still on the Titan, so it's probably closer to Prodigy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on. What else we got?
And it's always 2268 in my heart.
Hey, man. It's 23.99 somewhere, baby. Yeah.
We've got feedback.
What I like about Star Trek is I get older, but they stay the same age.
No. Please no.
All right.
Timothy Castillo sends us an email. Still too much mystery left in the remaining episodes. You might know this by now, as there's a lot of articles floating around with this explanation, but the Defiant with the cloaking device was destroyed in the Dominion War. This was the Sao Paulo, renamed by Sisko to be the Defiant. Yeah, I did wonder about that, actually, if they had the cloaking device on the new Defiant. If you remember that episode.
Yeah, I remember there was a destruction of one. I just assumed they eventually reinstalled it or something, but I guess not.
Yeah. What did you guys think of the literal moral question between Picard and Beverly? Beverly straight up said that she's lost her moral compass, and then they both were just ready to kill Vadic.
I hated it.
Not even an I put them down, they stay down line of reasoning. No lawyer Picard, just, kill her.
Yeah,
an interesting turn for our heroes.
Not interesting to me. Not interesting at all. It's like, we didn't even talk about it because I just was like, it just didn't feel like Star Trek to me. And I understand they're like saying how dark of a place they're in or whatever, but like, I don't know, man. I just don't feel like Picard was still like trying to reason with the Borg last season. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't gone through that much since then. He has a son now, but if just having a son makes you that much of a worse person.
It does. Haven't you met people who have kids? They're terrible.
That's true. Sorry,
they're like, I would kill anybody for my kid.
Oh man, have you seen The Last of Us? Or
No.
have you seen what it's about?
I know of it in existence.
I won't spoil the plot, but one of the major like themes of the story is once you love someone, how far will you go for them? And it asks that question to great effect.
Yeah.
It's really well done.
Well, I'm okay. I'm okay with, I think they've had it with Vadic and Vadic's bullshit. I think
sure.
There's just no way around it.
You know,
they tried to reason with Vadic earlier on.
It wouldn't have, it's just like, it wouldn't have bothered me if they just didn't have that conversation. Like, they didn't need to have that conversation. Like, she gets out like 3 seconds later. I don't know. It was weird to me because it was like the writers wanted us to know that they're in a dark place, but like I don't know that dark place was earned. I mean, I could see it from Beverly because we haven't seen her in 30 years or whatever. But we've still been watching Picard the last 2 seasons, and he was not drifting that far morally. You know, he's still been the moral center of the show.
I don't need 2 seasons. They were just like attacked and thrown down into a gravity well inside of some big celestial being. This creature is obviously working for the changelings, and they want to freaking overtake and have indeed invaded the Federation. This is war. This is life and death. Like,
yeah, but that's the whole point, though. They're talking about murdering a prisoner. It's not whether they should murder her. It's whether they should murder her in cold blood when she's their prisoner.
And she has gleefully been after Jack this entire time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like cackling and saying weird shit. Like,
sure. Sure. But that's the other thing is like, from a practical perspective, not even talking about the morality of it, which I also disagree with, but from a practical perspective, she has more information. Like, yeah, they still don't know. Like, they said that thing to her like they assumed. They were like, oh, we've already figured out your plan. And then she just smirked at them, but she didn't confirm it. Like, they don't know if they're right. And it's annoying to me that they just, like, were ready to kill her without, like, confirmation of her plan, finding out more, like, from a practical perspective, it didn't make any sense. It felt like the writers wanted to write a moral quandary, and then they did not explore it well, in my opinion. Okay.
It didn't bother me at all. Like, people are complex. They are layered with different emotions. They let their emotions guide them. And I think that was some of what was going on here. And they're also, you know, they've got a lot of hubris. They've been doing this a long time. They're like, oh yeah, we figured out your stupid plan. So like, I don't know. They've been through it this season in general. So I'm just sort of like, you know what? Like, yeah, they're going to try to like keep their kids safe and whatnot. I've watched enough Star Trek that I don't know, dude. I'm just not one of these who's like, they didn't sit and talk for 2 hours about this quandary. Like, they didn't. Because sometimes, depending on the episode, they don't always do that. They're all inconsistent.
That's not what I said.
Yeah.
They don't have to, like, sit and have a conversation about it. They just have to be, like, somewhat consistent characters. And I feel like in this moment, I don't know. They, like, or if they're gonna insert a moral quandary in the episode, let it be more complex. Let them both have come to different decisions, you know? Let him see that Crusher is ready to kill on sight to protect her son, and let that make him question, is he too? And then have that ability snatched away from him before he can, so that you as the audience is like, is Picard that dark? You know, there's a lot of ways to play it, but it just felt like they brought up a moral quandary and immediately answered it in a way that was, like, to me, not compelling or thoughtful. It was just kind of, to me, it was like, yeah, let's, you know, it's like that. It's like they wanted to show us how dark they've gotten so that they can loop us back around to hopeful before the end of the season. And so they can end on a big hopeful thing. But it didn't earn it, in my opinion. But
I don't know. It felt earned to me, but
cool.
this whole season's been just like them running the TNG characters through the shit storm. So
yeah, see, I just don't see it that way. Like, I mean, sure, the only difference between every other thing they've ever gone through is that, like, he has a son, and that just like,
yeah,
I've already seen The Last of Us. I'm not particularly like, I don't like the idea that, like, I don't know, somehow having a child allows you to completely throw your morals out the window.
Again, like, I know too many people with children. I've seen it.
I have too, and I understand what you're saying. It's just like, it's annoying because it's Picard who should be questioning those baser urges. Like, that's who Picard is. He's like, oh yes, I'm the Picard that wants to kill all the Borg, but I realize my hatred is misplaced, and now these Borg are being saved or whatever. He's gone through all these things.
What if in First Contact, Lily wasn't there to like call him on his shit? What if someone was there who agreed with him?
Right. Well, that's the point, though. First Contact is him being pushed to his absolute limit, and that's the species that took over his body and used him to kill thousands, and like, that's the most one of the most emotional moments of his life, and he is brought to the brink of real darkness, and it is earned there, and they had to put someone in his way to go, no, you can't be that guy. And like, that's earned, and I love that scene. I love that you broke your little ship scene, and like, this one does not I don't feel like anything he's gone through this season approaches at all his Borg experience.
I don't know. I'm very curious because I don't have children. I can't like speak to it necessarily. I can only speak to like what I've heard, people with kids say, is that,
Sure,
you will love them and care about them more than you ever loved or cared about yourself. So in that way, it makes sense for Picard to be on this level right here with Vatting. But I want you parents out there to write us for the next episode and say, like, what do you think? You think Picard was justified in his feelings? Because I don't know. I don't have a kid.
Sure. I just, like, no matter what a parent says, I don't think it's justified. I think that parent's wrong too. They can say that's the emotion that you have as a parent, but like,
I'm not saying it's justified. I'm saying these characters cannot be necessarily 100% perfect. Like,
sure,
like complaining that that's not the Picard I know. I mean, well, fuck the Picard you know. People change.
Sure,
things change.
Sure,
situations change.
Change has to be earned on screen to me, and I don't think this one was.
And I do. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Timothy Castillo continues. I liked the Geordi data/lore interaction, but because these modern series have given villains a bit more teeth, the possibilities of lore in this series are honestly terrifying. I really thought he was going to harm, if not kill, Geordi at certain points, and I'm still hoping it doesn't happen because that would be devastating.
Oof.
Don't know if I could handle that one. I don't think it will.
Yeah, that'd be pretty terrible to see. Yeah, I can barely talk about it. Like, to see, like, those two, that their relationship is what brought me into Star Trek. Like, they are the thing that, like, I find that, like, was the first thing that, like, caught my eye or whatever, when I was watching Star Trek with my parents as, like, a 3-year-old or whatever, 5-year-old probably. And, like, I have great affection for those characters, and the idea of Geordi being murdered by a bot that his best friend is living in, and his best friend is experiencing it through his own eyes. Like, yeah, no, you can't do that. I would not be okay with that. Yeah, I might rage quit. Like, that's terrible.
And the way that you just described it makes me kind of hope they do
it. Nope, not me.
Timothy says, "Hey, Dave, I like LOL. That's a great episode. Let's talk about some nacelle light placement for 10 minutes or so." Did I say I don't like LOL? Or that episode?
I don't know. I think he's picking on you for skipping. I don't know. Maybe like,
I don't know.
Skipping over LOL and then talking about nacelle placement for a while instead of like talking about the characters. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember what we said.
I don't remember you doing that last week, but it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible we were starting to talk about LOL and then yeah, but this was different, and then we started talking about whatever nacelles or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
It's possible.
Sorry, Timothy. I don't know what I did to upset you.
I wish we had memories, man. It'd be really good.
Yeah, but ADHD. Hey,
true.
So Timothy says, I like the LaForges. I like that Vadic is pretty scary up against her protagonist, but cowers at whoever the bloody meathead is. In a different series, I would assume that character would be the series Big Bad, and Vadic is a tragic, fluidic villain caught between a blender and a wave pool. I like seeing the TNG cast. There's a lot to like and love. The writing has been great overall. They need to pull back the curtain. They can't keep leaving mystery up in the air for the remaining episodes. The first time Jack brought up whatever is going on with him felt right. A misdirect or not the whole story, that's right. That's fine. But the second time he brought up, here with Picard just says they might have some advantage, and then we have a broken episode jump to half-baked plan to trap Vadic instead of exploring what's up with Jack. There was no obvious reason shutting the ship down and waiting for Vadic was a good idea. It seems like it would have been a better idea to go the Romulans for help at that point. Cue my Laris and Sayla idea. Just saying. We'll see where this all goes, I guess, but this episode felt a bit lost even while having some really good stuff in it. Back to more happy endings. Speaking of Geordi's family from All Good Things, if his kids are the same, does that mean he did end up with Leah Brahms after all? He definitely enjoyed working on her engine in the holodeck.
Vroom, vroom.
Yeah, he did. I mean, maybe he's still with Leah Brahms.
Yeah, seems like it's very possible.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the last episode. It was fine. I wasn't upset by it.
I think Timothy's hits here are fair. I think that yeah. I said the same thing. It was really strange. It almost felt like it was edited strangely or something. Like the idea to shut the ship down and present Jack as bait felt very rushed. Like it felt like the kind of plan that that's a big swing of a plan to let the guy you've been running and hiding to let the bad guy catch up with you that is way overpowered and everything. Like you don't know what their intentions are and all that. Like maybe they just show up and blow you up because their plans are different now, or what? You just don't know. And so I don't know. It was weird. It was a weird episode. I think some of the logic's a little skewed.
Maybe.
All right. Well, who's up next?
John Plays What says theory the real Beverly Crusher is dead.
Ooh.
He says this is kind of long, so I know you may not want to read on air, but I'd love to hear your opinions. Okay, so after y'all read my last email, I sound batshit crazy. However, I'm becoming more and more sold on your Species 8472 theory. So what if 8472 are controlling the Vadic's changeling sect? They are actually behind the Starfleet takeover in retribution for Janeway assisting the Borg with sending them back to fluidic space, back in the Delta Quadrant. They are forcing the changelings to do their dirty work so that they can remain hidden for now. Go Google an image of the face that was talking to Vadic and an image of Species 8472 face and tell me they don't look uncannily alike. I agree.
Yeah,
I've been saying this all along.
Totally agree.
Then this week we saw Tuvok, quote unquote, able to pull the wool over Seven's eyes, albeit briefly, by referencing their Calto games back on Voyager. Obviously, 8472 could read Tuvok's mind and know specifics about how to trick any of his friends. However,
I took that a little differently when she asked him about Calto and then pretends to be convinced so that he will let his guard down and let something slip. I think she gave him an easy one so that he would stop trying as hard or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's what was going on there.
Yeah. Let's see. However, when Seven asked something not related to their friendship, like the planet she referenced meeting at, they didn't know how to react, and that thus blowing their cover. Well, if the 8472 though could read the mind and know to talk about Calto, then wouldn't they be able to do the same thing with where they met?
Right. Which is why I like my theory that they were no longer on guard. Maybe they'd been literally actively reading his thoughts at that moment, and then went, okay, she believes me now. She's not testing him anymore. And then, continued to have a conversation. Because Seven's smart like that.
She is. John continues, so let's think back to when Crusher reached out to Picard. Perhaps Beverly knew they would set a trap for Picard, so she intentionally misinformed them to give Hellbird as a clue to Picard. He wouldn't know Hellbird because he was Locutus when the Hellbird program crippled the Enterprise. So when Crusher told Picard to trust no one, he would have to bring other people in because he doesn't know what the hell Hellbird is. This would mean that Beverly Crusher we know and love is either captured / imprisoned or already dead. Sad face. Which would mean that Beverly... he literally wrote sad face, by the way. It wasn't an emoji. Which would mean the Beverly we've seen this season is a changeling put in place as a trap for Picard. Why? To install his son, quote-unquote, into the Federation. But little does he know, he doesn't actually have a son. Instead, the Jack Crusher we know is actually an 8472 shape-shifting sleeper agent that was raised to believe he was Picard's son. I would believe all of this theory.
Yeah.
Perhaps their intent is to install Jack 8472 into the Federation with the Picard family legacy to climb the ranks by controlling his superiors telepathically. The only problem is that Jack is not, quote, waking from his sleeper status like he should, thus 8472 are trying to get him back and fix him. When Vadic talks to him on the Titan, she is almost requesting him to come with them, almost treating him with reverence, like she's afraid of what happens to her if she or her crew hurts him. The first step in realizing you have a problem, and I realize I spend way too much time theorizing different potential storylines. Sorry, this was long. Thoughts? I think they would have to have tricked an 8472 to believe that it was Beverly. I don't think this is an 8472 pretending to be Beverly. I think if it is an 8472 being as Beverly, she doesn't know she's not Beverly.
It's possible. It would be quite the dramatic moment if we find out that Beverly is either a changeling or an 8472. Either way, that would be, or like honestly, if any of our like core crew that we've been like hanging out with all this time, we find out has been a changeling all along this season, would be a pretty great twist. It would diminish the season a little bit because it'd be like, oh, this is our last big hurrah with our people, and then but I guess they could have one last episode where they get the real Crusher out of a vat somewhere.
Yeah, I just don't know. I feel like Beverly continuing to say trust no one is them telling me don't trust Beverly.
I feel like the one thing this is leaving out is the Uramotic syndrome and the fact they went for Picard's body first.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they went for Picard's body. Something about Picard's body was not what they needed or something. And then they went for Jack. And the one connection there is the Uramotic syndrome. Like, I don't know what the plot is there, but that's the one thing that I feel like this theory leaves out. There is that.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Matt. Damn it. Foiled again.
It could still be somehow a lot of those things, but I do think that's going to tie in somehow.
Yeah, maybe so. Matthew Davis writes to us, says, somehow I get the feeling we're going to see someone from the TNG crew die. I just want to put this out there to see how close to correct my guesses are. There are no spoilers here, just predictions based on feelings I get from what's been said on the show and reported in media. The core group from TNG, Picard. This is the final season after all. What's a more fitting way to end? I'm kind of torn. Part of me thinks he's going to die. Part of me thinks he's going to fake his death and retire somewhere with Laris. I don't feel like he's actually like ended things with Laris necessarily. So
yeah, I didn't get that either.
If he starts like shacking up with Bev again, I'm going to be pissed. Riker, maybe? I hope not. If they kill Will off, Frakes could still return as Thomas. He's still alive, right? And this better not have been this has been Thomas all along fake out. I think Will survives. I think he does too, mainly because Terry Matalas says he would be in Legacy. Deanna, nah, I think she survives. If she dies, there will be cries of her being fridged being posted online at Warp 9. Yeah, probably. Geordi, I hate to say it, but he's second on my list. I could see him sacrificing himself to save his daughters. If they don't kill off Picard, they may kill off Geordi. I don't think they'll kill off Geordi. I just don't.
Yeah.
Especially since he's talking about he's down for his legacy.
But the thing is, a lot of times those kinds of reports or interviews are lies just to generate the possibilities and stuff. So.
Matt, I can't exist from week to week thinking Geordi LaForge might be murdered. I just can't.
Telling me, brother. You're telling me.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Worf, no. It would be a glorious death, but no. Beverly, I don't know. On one hand, her death would have a huge impact on Jack. On the other, I'd hate for them to kill her off without a last scene with Wesley. I think she survives. As for the other principal characters, I don't think any of them are likely to die. Rafi might be the most likely. Even then, this has been a great season for her, and I could see her character continuing into any Section 31 plans they have. Or Legacy, honestly. Mm-hmm. And for the record, I'm writing this before seeing episode 7. Thanks for listening to, or rather reading, my ramblings. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thanks.
I appreciate you sending in our emails every week now. That's awesome. Love hearing from you.
For sure. What are you laughing at?
This next message comes from Captain Tattered Foreskin.
Oh, no. Is this the final message of the evening?
No, there's still a stew, I think. This will come as a surprise to you both, but I enjoy Dave's weird, off-putting genital humor.
I wouldn't have ever guessed that. Tattered foreskin.
Please don't stop. Go deeper if you will. I need you to pound. I need you to pound my cervix with your funny bone. Sorry, I'm not as good as Dave is with this. Anyway, I love Star Trek and I love your show. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Captain Tattered Foreskin. And I am upset at you because Dave will take this and run with it as his vindication of his humor.
No, if anything, it was a suppressant. Mike, I read that name and my dick flinched.
All right. So give us stews.
We got Stu.
Let's do it. Stu!
Stu says, "Hey guys, at first I was like, oh no, Tuvok is dead. Then I was like, oh, not yet. But then I was like, he should be dead. Fuck him. Hashtag justice for Tuvok."
Also justice for cervix from the last email.
I don't really agree that exploiting something about a particular race to create something that can be used against them is tantamount to genocide. If that were true, Kirk was committing genocide on Rura Penthe when he kicked that guy in his knee balls. A concern that the weapon could be misused by others would have been a more reasonable concern, in my opinion. Yeah, I'd agree with that probably.
Yeah, I think some of that, like, it really felt like that one and the other moral question of this episode both felt like very, like, ham-fisted attempts at inserting a moral question into this episode.
Well, see, but I went with, the person saying that it was tantamount to genocide was emotionally compromised on the subject. It's the same as, like, people nowadays being like, I don't know, you like popcorn that someone who's a Republican ate? You're a Nazi! Okay. That's a little too far.
Yeah.
I didn't know Orville Redenbacher was Republican. I'm sorry. I'll eat great value from now on.
Come on, man. You saw the bow tie. You knew what you were doing.
That was just like the best weird thing I could come up with.
It was good. I liked it.
Picard's participation at Frontier Day requires his identity to be confirmed by genetic validation? Do they know he's got a synthetic body now? Or is it that his body's supposed to be organically synthetic like the Cylons were in BSG or replicants in Blade Runner? That's a good point. Like, how are they gonna do that?
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's like if they test him and they're like, aren't you not supposed to be biological? Like, I'm confused. And they're using his, like, body from the whatever Daystrom.
Mm-hmm. Like, they go to prick him to check his his blood, and it just starts squirting like the white cum from Alien, that all the robots had.
I just thought about the idea of two changelings weekend at Bernieing. Weekend at Bernie'sing the dead body of Picard up to the podium. Some sort of Trojan horse.
Yeah. Actually, you say that, but that is a really good call.
What?
That is...
What do you mean?
Like, okay.
It's a terrible call.
For shits and giggles, let's say that when they modified the Golem android body to look like Picard, they also gave him his genetics.
Sure.
They gave him his, whatever. So he could still read as Picard anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So if they could do that, then the changelings might be able to just, like, go into the dead Picard body and reanimate it by way of, like, living inside of it and moving around. Like,
I'm in a Picard suit.
He's basically Edgar from the Men in Black. I was looking for water. Sugar water. Like, oh my God.
I said it a couple episodes ago, but we're going to get robots versus zombies, and I'm here for it.
Stu continues, Lore doesn't have a perverted sense of what it means to be human, Geordi. He's just a personification of the fact that some people are assholes. Actually, wasn't Lore basically like a sociopath because of Soong's imperfect design? That's kind of ableist. Vadic's boss referring to changelings as your kind implies they are not one themselves. Is Gul Dukat returned to do some Pa Wraith shit?
Ooh. I doubt it, but ooh.
I like where your head's at, Stewie. Quote, I took an oath to do no harm. So what was with you using a phaser shotgun in the premiere then? It's true. She's like turning these assholes to ash.
Yeah,
like,
for real. I will say,
now she's saying
that was self-defense. This is a different thing because it's be murdering someone who's in their care.
Mm-hmm.
But it is different. But yeah.
Vadic's origin is great. No snark.
Oh, wow. Stu minus the snark?
Yeah. At first, when I first saw it, I almost said shark. I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, oh, wait.
Yeah. That N can really look like an H sometimes.
Yeah, man. Damn it, Lore. You could be on Team Picard as the zany wildcard member. Don't throw it away out of spite.
Yeah.
So, Jack isn't Picard's son. He's Professor Xavier's. I kind of thought Sydney was about to die, and that's why she's the daughter, not played by LeVar Burton's actual offspring. Anything could happen, but I'm starting to suspect they won't explain why Q was dying last season. Good episode, giving some... Good episode, giving some illumination on a few things.
Is that even supposed to be on the table anymore?
Yeah. I don't want to know why Q was dying. It takes the mystery out of the continuum.
Oh my god.
See, do you know what? One of my biggest problems with Voyager is they, like, sapped too much mystery out of the Borg and the continuum.
Yeah, sure.
Those are Creed Brattons. You don't want to know.
Well, I see. I hear you, but the idea behind a good show like this is you reveal those mysteries, and then the Borg and the Q can become a little more part of the protagonist side, and you introduce new mysteries. You know, in the original series, the Romulans and the Klingons were much more like, just antagonists that we knew little about, except for whatever, deception and honor, and then as they became more more well-rounded characters, we get to know them, then they introduce the Borg and the Q.
Yeah.
And it'd be okay with me if they'd done that, and while doing that, they introduced new species that were all so mysterious and interesting, but I don't think we really got that from Voyager.
Yeah. Well. Stu says, good episode, giving some illumination on a few things, though, Jack's superpowers are a bit of a leap for me. No, I'm good with superpowers on Star Trek.
Oh, yeah.
It's sci-fi. It's all sci-fi bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm good. Me
too.
I'm also good with fantasy in Star Trek to some degree. I don't really want to see, maybe one episode with a dragon, but I don't want to see all of it. It's we went to one planet where there was a dragon and some incest, but I think Lower Decks already did that, so.
Yeah, I think they did.
All right. That's it. That's all we've got.
Oh, well, thank you, Stu. Good stuff. That you really got me with the. I'm starting to think they're not going to explain why Q died last season. Oh man, that's funny. That's really funny. All right. Well, man, I'm excited.
Yeah.
We got 3 episodes left. Is that right?
Something like that.
Something like that. Well, I'm
8, 9, and 10.
Freaking pumped, man. Well, guys, hope you guys are having fun out there. Hope you're cruising and hanging out and watching lots of Star Trek this week. We'll be back.
Where are they cruising? Where are they cruising?
Cruising, man. We're all just cruising.
What is? Are you gonna start breaking into the California Dreams theme song?
Maybe I will.
Surf dudes with attitude.
Well, we'll be back to cruise with you next week here on Star Trek Universe. Jill Untrue.
I'm not cruising anywhere. Live long and prosper, though.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.